Welcome to HITC Sport, and what is the point? I mean, that's the theme here. What is the point of my life? No, I'm gonna go through every Premier League club and just find one player they brought in this season, which now, months later, makes about as much sense as Deji's career. Some of these make absolutely no sense. A bit like how I'm still alive after eating a sandwich I found in a public bin. Right, let's go. Arsenal Willian. This was never going to be a good look. If you want to continue to lay claim to being the biggest club in London, then don't rifle through the sock drawer of one of your main rivals. Last summer, Willian was getting stuffed in a bin by Frank Lampard. You know, by the same manager who just picked Harry Wilson nearly 50 times in a season. He was washed up, being linked with China, so bringing him to Arsenal, dragging in your rivals over the hill rubbish. It's like KSI borrowing a used condom from Jake Paul. I mean, come on, where's your dignity and pride? Well, yeah, technically the transfer fee was less than a Fredo bar, but don't you dare tell me this was a bargain. You pay this man £192,000 a week? The same week you told the dinosaur mascot you didn't have enough cash to keep him on? Lads, because of Willian's existence, Gunnersaurus is now probably living under a bridge, washing his hair in a public toilet, selling his body on the street, and feeding his kid milk from his nipples. And Willian, he's played nearly 40 times and had to wait until May to score his first goal. Am I the only one who can see he can't run? Yes, he'd have been a brilliant signing from Shakhtar Donetsk, but lads, I don't know if you've noticed, it's not 2013 anymore. For Christ's sake, Macklemore's probably a 50-year-old man by now. Ignoring talented and hungry youngsters for a guy who probably eats pancakes for breakfast? Just awful. Aston Villa, Ross Barkley. I'm not going to blame Dean Smith too much for this one because on paper, Ross Barkley loaning from Chelsea, it should have worked. And he did start well. A debut goal in the 7-2 thrashing of Liverpool, and then a last-minute winner against Leicester. Then he picked up a month-long hamstring injury. And since returning in January, the guy can't cope without his Jack Grealish safety blanket. And honestly, he now plays like Steve Sidwell on Smack. The fact Conor Hourihane scored more goals than Barkley got this season last year. Good Christ, this is a former £50 million rated England international being outperformed by a Sunderland reject from Cork. That is Christ. Brighton was Saucedo. Yeah, does anyone really know what the point of this one was? Saucedo from Uruguay bringing in a 19-year-old kid. Oh, it's just a very football hipster. Then again, Potter probably also wears his socks inside out and pours milk into a bowl before adding the cereal. Burnley, Dale Stephens. Someone tell me, what is the point of Dale Stephens? Anyone? Sean Dyche had already seen one average plodding midfielder leave the building, so why did he think it was necessary to bring in another guy with the midfield presence of a damn sock? Stephens has been an injury-blighted mess who's rotted on the bench for the entire 90 minutes 20 times this season. He's played half an hour of football since December. Just what? Why did you bother to bring him in from Brighton and for £1 million? You could have donated that money to a local orphanage. You could have cured 33% of hunger in Western Sudan. But no, you choose to chuck it at the head of a guy who's about as much use on a football pitch as a pint of sour pig milk. Chelsea Hakim Ziyech. Okay, right now I'm gonna have lads from Marrakesh wanting to harvest my organs on the internet for daring to offend the almighty Hakim Ziyech. But lads, am I the only one who thinks he's a bit out of place at Stamford Bridge? He was signed on a pre-contract from Ajax in February 2020 for £40 million. Ah yes, £40 million for a winger 2 years off 30. Yes, he scored 20 goals a season in the Dutch league, but so did Alvarez and Bash. Right now, Ziyech has 2 goals all season in the league. Even Sean Phillips scored more than that. Yes, he's a good player, but stockpiling another expensive winger onto a squad featuring Christian Pulisic, Callum Hudson-Odoi and Timo Werner? Why? Crystal Palace Jack Butland. Listen, I'm not blaming Crystal Palace for dragging Jack Butland in from Stoke for £1 million. It's worth a punt for a former England goalkeeper, but I am blaming Butland and his agent for just hopelessly giving up in his career. He's only 28 years old and already making Joe Hart moves, choosing to spend an entire season rotting on a Premier League bench. Your contract at Stoke would have expired this summer. You'd have been free to go anywhere you wanted. Back yourself to get back in the England squad. I mean, come on, the current #1 gets more distracted than Jimmy Savile at a swimming pool. But no, you're now stupidly locked into a 3-year deal, sitting beside James Tompkins on a bench, whilst praying that Vasily Guaita gets hit by a taxi. Everton Robin Olsen. In the Premier League, managers usually like consistency between the posts. The last thing they want to do is mess around with their goalkeepers. It's like messing around with the boiler in your house. Do you want to soon be taking showers in the sink? His decision to drag in Robin Olsen on loan from Roma and pit 2 international #1s against each other, it was always going to end in pain. Olsen has played 7 Premier League matches this season, and because Because of his rustiness, he's kept 2 clean sheets. You can't pick a goalie once every 6 weeks and expect him to perform. He's gonna be rustier than a nun's lady flower, and all it's gonna do is just force Pickford to sulk and stamp his feet like a dyslexic toddler, and probably even lose confidence in his own ability. Just Carl, pick one goalie. Good grace, when you go home at night, do you have 2 wives fighting it out in the kitchen over who gets to make you dinner? I mean, come on. Fulham, Terence Congolo. If Scott Parker's looking at where he went wrong this season, look no further than your signings. First of all, paying £7 million for Terence Congolo after he played just 1 game for you on loan in the Championship the previous season. Anyway, surprise, surprise, injuries have ruined his season and he's barely played. Leeds Rodrigo. Listen, I don't want to be calling any Leeds signing a flop this season, but to be fair, Rodrigo cost £27 million from Valencia and can barely get in the team. I'm convinced this guy was Marcelo Bielsa's safety net in case Bamford once again turned out to be a wet paper towel in England's top flight, eaten on toast every Saturday afternoon by elite defenders. Ozzy, there was a very real fear that Bamford, outside the comfy level of Championship football, would be like sticking Boris Johnson in a bath, just so far out of his comfort zone, he wouldn't know what to do in there. What, just shove a block of soap in his mouth? Well, Bamford has done very well. Rodrigo's been played further back in midfield or just put on the bench. Lads, he hasn't started a game since January. I get having a cheap backup striker, but why didn't you just shove a bunch of cash down Edison Cavani's throat and bring him in on a free? Not pay a club record signing for a gamble. Leicester, Kengi's under. Kengi's under, a versatile wing back from Roma. Yeah, he started well with a couple of assists, but lads, he started just 1 game since November. Most he brought on the bench while watching actual children get in the team before him. Liverpool, Ben Davies. Right now, Ben Davies must be hyperventilating into a toilet roll. This guy was a 1-club Preston North End hero. One of the best defenders in the Championship at the age of 25, was probably sold the Anfield dream, right? Moving there in January for £1 million. He was seduced, lured there, like me getting lured into the back of an ice cream van. They told me that was a Calippo. That wasn't a bastard Calippo. That was just 13 years worth of therapy. Davies hasn't played. He said he wanted to show the world what he could do. Well, I didn't know that extended to just cooking up dodgy corn lasagna on TV. Yes, Liverpool have had a defensive crisis this season, but what was the point of this man? He's yet to play a single minute. He must feel like ripping off his own eyelashes, because if he can't get a single minute of playing time now, the next season when Virgil van Dijk and Joe Gomez are back, he'll be what? 9th choice centre back? You'll be so out of favour that when you turn up to training, the groundsman will probably gonna have to ask you for ID. Man City, Ferran Torres. Hands up. Who thought Man City needed Ferran Torres last summer? Listen, I know he's supposed to be a 21-year-old Spanish talent, but am I the only one who thinks he's the second coming of Jesus Navas or the third coming of Nolito? A £20 million signing from Valencia. Yeah, he started the season on fire with 4 goals in the Champions League group stages, but he hasn't played a single minute of European football since a 10-minute cameo in the first leg against Borussia Mönchengladbach. He's got 10 goals overall this season, so it hasn't been a bad return. Oh, I'm sorry, am I the only one who thinks the club could have just recalled Jack Harrison, left Torres in Spain, and saved yourself a £20 million paycheck? And you'd still be on course for the treble. Yes, Harrison has a god-awful man bun that makes him look like he poses nude for French art galleries. But 7 goals and 6 assists for a newly promoted team? I'd gladly take him over Torres every day of the week. Man United, Donny van de Beek. Yeah. Why? Does anyone want to let me know this? Why the hell is Donny van de Beek at Manchester United? While he was at Ajax, he was one of the most promising midfielders in Europe. But now, when he sees his former midfield teammate Frankie de Jong starting every week for Barcelona, while he rots in the northwest of England, it's like if Ajax were an orphanage. One of them, yeah, he gets to go live with a rich multi-billionaire family and gets to eat ice cream every day. The other one gets trapped in his uncle's basement while being fed bowls of his own teeth. The last Premier League match he started was in November. It's not like he even gets half-an-hour cameos. No, he usually comes off the bench in the 80th minute. I guarantee you, if Jose Mourinho was ostracizing a talent like him, you'd all be signing petitions to release Van de Beek. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does it and nobody says a word. Don't forget, this guy's the 3rd most expensive central midfielder in the history of your club, and yet you treat him like he's got leprosy. Newcastle, Jeff Hendrick. I know he's a free transfer, but I don't care. Even paying this man 3 tuck crackers and a pair of socks a week is too much for Jeff Hendrick. Steve Bruce, you had just sent back Emil Bentaleb to Germany after he showed the mobility of a dead horse carcass, but replacing him with Hendrick, I know at least 7 postmen who could do a better job than him. Is it any coincidence in the 19 games he started, Newcastle have won just 5 times? He's been reckless, got sent off, offered the playmaking ability of a melted egg sandwich. He's just utterly atrocious. Why spend a summer convincing Matty Longstaff to stay, only to block his path to the first team with a fellow who looks like he sleeps under a bus? Sheffield United, Ryan Brewster. This was just embarrassing. It sounds weird now, but last summer Ryan Brewster was seen as one of the most competent young strikers in Europe. Now his reputation has been dealt a sizable punch to the nose. Every week since October, no goals in 29 matches, he's had 6 shots off target. Why spend a club record £20 million on a young striker if you're not going to give him the ball? Poor Ian. It's not his fault Sheffield out of the creativity of an empty box of Cheerios. Southampton, Takuma Minamino. There is a lot to fix at Southampton right now. I don't really think the addition of another winger in January was helpful. Why not bring in a few more defenders? Minamino, he bagged a couple of goals but recently lost his place. And I think we're all now beginning to see that he's just the next Lazar Markovic. Willian and Matt Doherty. Okay, say it with me. Doherty. Most people in England, while trying to pronounce Irish names, just seemingly lose control of their tongue. No, it's not Doherty. Does he look like popping fresh to you? To be fair, he's played like him all season. Listen, away from Wolves, the former Arsenal fan has massively lacked fitness, and considering Serge Aurier, when he's in form, he's actually a pretty good creative right back. So was it worth spending £9 million on a nearly 30-year-old fullback who spent most of his career in the Championship? West Brom Branislav Ivanovic. Someone tell me, whose idea was it to bring in a nearly 40-year-old Branislav Ivanovic to the Premier League? Ah yes, that's what you want in a struggling team in a relegation battle. A centre-back slower than a homemade lawnmower. West Ham Frederick Alves. Here we have Frederick Alves, an unknown 21-year-old Danish defender bought from Silkeborg in January. I'm still trying to work out why. Wolves Keanu Hoover. Yeah, here we have a 19-year-old Liverpool wonder kid. A Dutch defender, Keanu Hoover, who moved to Wolves last summer for £9 million, and he has barely played. Anyway, that's it. Let me know in the comments below. What do you think? What was the most pointless signing your club made this summer? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give a like, share, subscribe, and as always, I'll talk to you in a while.